We are live 364 days a year. What are we doing here?
If Dom turns at SummerSlam, I'm shaving my moustache off. I've told you, if that happens, it's going. My lip is cold because of a stupid bet that I made with YouTube.
Oh, good.
Wrestle's better than Daniel Bryan Daniels. Better than Okada.
How do you not get sushi after Monday Night Raw?
Welcome to Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast, a show where a rotating cast of wrestling fans from around the world come and share and debate their opinions, with live comments from all of you shown throughout, as after all, fans are what makes wrestling so special. So sit back, grab a beverage and enjoy the show. Good evening from Swansea, South Wales, wrestling fans. Survivor Series War Games is just 4 hours away, and we have a lot to talk about from last night's SmackDown first. It's going to be a fun show, and for a fun show, I need a fun panel. Let's kick things off with Shad Talk Scraps. How are you, Shad?
What is going on, Ben? It is your boy, Shad Talks Grabs, and I am back to talk to y'all about SmackDown. I'm excited. We are a few hours away, like you mentioned, to War Games. So I'm excited for that. Let's get into it.
Absolutely, it's going to be a fun one, and Zach is revealing that it's Small Business Saturday and Electronic Greetings Day. I had no idea about either of those, but that is brilliant. Also, we got Aunt You in the comments. Shout out to Aunt You saying Happy Survivor Series Saturday, WR Crew. But also joining us today, we have Anthony. How are you, Ant?
I'm doing all right. It's always fun doing these. It's an eventful day with Survivor Series tonight. We had some wrestling last night in Mexico with 2 different promotions. So it should be fun to be talking about last night's SmackDown and a small preview of Survivor Series in a few hours.
Absolutely. Of course, Claudio Castagnoli is the new CMLL World Heavyweight Champion. If you haven't checked out the interview I did with him on this channel earlier this week, make sure to go and do it, because he called his shot. He says this was the biggest match of his career and he needed to win, and he won.
He ended almost a 3-year reign. I think that's what they said. It was over 1,000 days, something like that.
1,000 days.
3 years. It's absolutely nuts.
Great.
He has held that title for a while.
I got to give you your props, man. Amazing interview that you did with him.
Thank you.
Such a good conversation. I enjoyed it. And the most fascinating thing that everyone needs to know is that Claudio yesterday told Ben, this is the biggest match of his entire career. This is a guy who wrestled Roman Reigns, the tribal chief, for a world title. So for that type of nod and him succeeding it, kudos to him, man. Congrats.
Absolutely. It's so well deserved by Claudio, and hopefully he has a dominant reign there. But up first, guys, I have a theory. I think Alexa Bliss is turning heel tonight at Survivor Series War Games, and the reason why I am theorizing this is last night's SmackDown. Very rarely in a War Games blood and guts, whatever you want to call it, match, do a face team get the advantage. Why? Well, because it is ridiculously hard to book. But last night, Charlotte just beat Asuka completely cleanly, and that threw me off a little bit, because not only was I expecting the heels to win, but I thought if they did win, there would at least be some controversy or something like that. There wasn't. It was clean. But also, interestingly, Alexa didn't come out after the match to celebrate with Charlotte or anything like that. Charlotte was just on her own. And we know now the main story of this Women's War Games match has been Alexa persuading Charlotte to actually join the team. So I do predict tonight in War Games, Alexa Bliss is going to do a Dakota Kai to Tegan Nox, and she is going to take out Charlotte Flair, and that is why the babyface team will actually have a disadvantage in the match itself. It's a bold call, but you got to make them to get them right. Shad, I want to know what your thoughts are on that.
It is needed. I actually agree 100% with you, Ben. I think Bliss turns tonight. Alexa Bliss, a long time ago, I know people forget, was such an elite heel character. The goddess, the ability of promo she does, just being that bully, man, she's such a great heel. And I think She has done all that she needs to do as a babyface with this partnership with Charlotte Flair. I think the main objective was, how are we to get Charlotte to be babyface? How do we get her as a main event babyface again, being a potential opponent for now our heel world champion Jade Cargill? You pair her with Alexa, you allow them to have this, frenemy dynamic where now they're sisters, and Alexa has been the cog to get Charlotte to buy in, to join the War Games team, and everything is peaches and cream. They're riding the high. And like you mentioned tonight, that's where she strikes venom. That's where she goes ahead and does her dirty. And you mentioned one of my favorite War Games moments was the Dakota Kai turn, just kicking Tegan Knox inside the cage. That's needed. They need a level of just a curveball to that degree. And I've been on the record for saying it. I don't really care to see them as a tag team at this point. I think they helped the tag division a lot. They worked well as a partnership. But after they lost it to the Kabuki Warriors, I'm kind of done with it. And I think SmackDown, as you saw yesterday, is very thin on the women's division for single stars. So we're at a point where Jade is feuding with Chelsea Green, a main card title versus a mid-card title holder. I have no problem with the feud, but it's the fact that both champions are going against each other when they should probably be feuding with individual people on the roster. When you break them up, you would instantly put two top-tier women in the singles division to go for whatever title they want, whether Charlotte goes for the U.S. or Bliss goes to the U.S. or they both go for the world title. I think it's such a important figure to kind of get them to break off. And I think Alexa is going to do such a good job as a heel turn where fans will still root for Charlotte just because it'll be such a wow moment, and you'll get a good balance. I think the balance will be very important there. So yes, I do think Alexa will turn heel as well.
And the way they've told the story, they've really made fans connect with Charlotte. They've made them feel for Charlotte because at first she wasn't into this idea, and over time Alexa has won her over. And we've seen it, and it's been a slow progression, but it's been a well-told story even with limited TV time. So I do think, to your point, fans are going to be behind Charlotte for the first time in years.
And you know me, man, I'm Mr. Critical towards a lot of what SmackDown does on a weekly basis, but you have to give them a lot of credit on the repackage of Charlotte Flair after the Tiffany Stratton feud and everything that kind of unraveled within that, especially with everything tied to like the Unreal. Like I feel like you got a very good fresh start with it, and now you can tell Flair seems like she's in a good place. I thought last night her and Asuka did what they always do. Those two women have incredible synergy with each other, always go and deliver good matches. But like you mentioned, I mean, the fact that like the babyface team never wins prior to the night before, right? So, and it's always a thing, like whoever wins that night is going to lose for the PLE. So yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, the time when they do win, it's either an injury angle or something like that. They always do something fishy before the match itself, usually. There's a couple of occasions over the last couple of years where that's not been done, but for the most part, it is. We got a few comments here. We got Fernando saying, what's up, Fernando? We got James Vaughan in the comments as well. Shout out to you. DCX Warlord saying the Survivor Series stage is looking small, and also that the daily hat counter this week is to 11 now, but Fernando is saying no way Alexa turns heel. Well, what do you think about it all, Anthony?
It's a tricky situation because I've said before, I don't think the women's tag division is exactly stacked. So I don't know what void that creates for them. I think there's also a potential problem is Alexa is so over with the audience that even if she turns heel, they may still cheer her and boo Charlotte. Like that's the threat that they have because, the internet community loves to stir the pot. So I could totally see them trying to hijack the show with something like that because they would do it with MJF. MJF is beloved as the heel. So I could see them doing that potentially with Bliss. I don't know if Charlotte has enough capital as a babyface to carry it as a babyface. She's another one that's a natural heel. Could she play a babyface? Yeah. Is it as believable? Maybe not so much. I don't know if the turn's going to happen tonight. It is weird we're having the babyface team have the advantage. That's not normal. I don't know if it's done for purposes for something like this, or if it's just done to confuse everyone and us having a debate like this. Could they do an angle where someone takes out a member of the babyface team and it leads to somebody like Bailey or somebody else that comes, I'll step up and maybe he'll turn somewhere down the road. I don't know where they're going with this long term. Could Bliss get a good heel run with Charlotte? Yeah, but I don't know what happens to either one after it. You know what I mean? Like, does Bliss would have to win that feud to go for like the world title or something. Because if Charlotte does it, then I'd be like, oh, well, it's Mania season again, so Charlotte's getting another world title shot. Then you got this problem starting up all over again because people are going to be like, oh, well, no, look, it's Mania. Charlotte's got to be in the title. I don't know what you do with this. I really don't, because they're in this weird spot where Charlotte is this is the only time where Charlotte's been getting cheered. Like, realistically, she's been booed her entire career. I don't know if Bliss turns on her, if she's necessarily going to be the face.
I'm certain she will be. I'm certain. I'm certain.
You were certain on the.
She was maybe the person who got the loudest reaction last night on SmackDown. Honestly, that cheer when she won the match, the fans were going nuts for her. They are so behind her right now, and because of Unreal as well. We talk about Unreal a lot. That's also a factor in this.
I just don't know. I think the only way you're going to know is if it happens, but I don't know. I really don't.
Well, I think whether we see it tonight or we see it in 2 months from now, I do think we are going to see it very, very soon.
One point, though, to those that criticize her being in the main title picture, look, man, I'm tired of that. And I'm not saying Anthony's doing it. I'm just saying. No,
I'm saying, I'm right.
Tired of that.
No, you are.
Because that is, that becomes a conversation about, gender in a sense, right? Because we don't bat an eye when Roman Reigns is in the title picture all the time, when Cody's in the title picture, when Seth, vice versa. When it's a woman and it's Charlotte Flair, they magnify it a little extra. And I'm not even the biggest Charlotte Flair fan, but I'll call a spade a spade. The woman is one of the most talented women's wrestlers of all time, and she's a main eventer. She needs to be in the main event picture if she has the ability, especially when you have new women in the main event picture that we haven't seen feuds happen with. Her and Jade is a money match. Those two women look like absolute just superstars going face to face with each other. That's what sells. If you want to sell Mania, that's how you sell Mania.
I think one of the biggest problems, and this is, a weird situation where it's when a talent gets big enough, whether it's Roman, whether it's Cody, whether it's Seth, whether it's Charlotte, Becky, any number of people, when they reach a plateau, it gets to a point where like it feels lesser, whoever they're in the ring with, unless they're either in there for a world title or they're in there in a dream match. Everything else feels lesser. Like, what do you do with them? They're so over that you can't necessarily have Charlotte against Nikki Cross, for example. No one wants that. No one cares. But like,
actually, I think they did have a good match a few years ago, but I do see your point.
But that's not a marquee match. That's not a match where people will stop what they're doing. Jade, that's a marquee match. Even Lash Legend would probably be an interesting dynamic between the two of them because we haven't seen it before. Like, you know what I mean? It's a very difficult situation. It's a bigger problem with Roman than anybody, I think.
Oh, but, Roman 100% has that. But I do want to read out some comments, guys, before we move on, because Millennial Noob is saying that Jade versus Bianca is going to be a money match. It absolutely will. Eric Tate predicting a CM Punk heel turn tonight. Mackenzie saying that they don't mind seeing Alexa Bliss a heel turn for her because it is something fresh and they need some new storylines right now. And I agree with that. We got Tony saying that Jade versus Charlotte could happen at WrestleMania. Definitely could, like they both just said. That is a money match. And Calf KSK says, after the video segment, I thought a Mania rematch is between Rhea and Charlotte. Could well happen too.
If it's not this year, it'll happen at another Mania for sure.
Absolutely. But Calf KSK is also right. Everybody under the sun has predicted somebody different to turn heel tonight. It is heel turn prediction after heel turn prediction, but we'll see one.
If anybody's going to turn, I think it's Jey Uso. I think that my money would be on Jey Uso of anybody turning tonight.
Well, I thought that until last night's SmackDown, which we'll get onto right now. Fantastic segue, because Jey Uso beat Rusev, which means he's in the semi-finals of the tournament. And this means I don't think Jey Uso is turning heel, because if he was turning heel, I think he would have lost last night, because I don't think he's going to lose his first match as a heel. But regardless, Jey Uso defeated Rusev and advanced, and then the mystery person was The Miz. Now, I'm going to be honest, when I first heard this, I absolutely hated it. But the way they did it in that segment last night with the balls and R-Truth and Miz swapping it, I really liked it. I found it really funny. But my issue is, I think this should have happened on last week's SmackDown. Because if this segment happened then, it would have been just a really good segment. But because they made people wait for a week, and of course the spoilers were out there a bit, but even still,
technically it did happen last week.
That's my point. So they could have done it last week, and then people would have had their hopes up less. I can't for the life of me understand why they waited for this week for it to be The Miz. Now, that being said, I really enjoyed LA Knight versus The Miz. A fun short match, and LA Knight advances alongside Jey Uso. But Anthony, what were your thoughts on both of the matches?
The Miz, I wouldn't have gone The Miz. I probably would have went Truth, because he hadn't gotten his, and they kept this buildup of, Nick Aldis not respecting his balls, as they emphasized every week. Like, you can't be doing these segments with him and that not lead to him even being in this thing. I think that's a mistake. The Miz had a shot, so I think you kind of either put somebody else in there or do a second chance or do something. I wouldn't have done what they did last night. I thought it was satisfactory. I ultimately do think it's Gunther's probably the guy. The only other one would be Jey Uso, which, that's a fun thing to do to really anger the internet community. Because, he's enemy number one apparently, but in the arenas, that doesn't transfer over, which is, I think, is the most interesting part. As much heat as he has online, in the arena, everyone's heating. So it's a little kind of disconnect with the audiences. But I like the Last Time Is Now tournament, the concept of it and the portrayal of this. And I've said this before. I know a lot of people have complained about the Cena retirement run. And I know this is a bigger issue than I have time to do. But in general, they only had, 30 days or more of actually Cena there to do this. And he's built up to such a degree, no matter what they were going to do in the end, it wasn't going to satisfy everybody. So, like a good series finale, you kind of want Breaking Bad. That's the gold standard. And you don't want to end up with The Sopranos. So you want to end up somewhere in the middle, at least. I think it's a really...
Sorry, I'm cutting that off right now there.
Okay.
You did not just insult the best ending to a TV show in history with The Sopranos.
The black screen, you want to do that now? We could do it here.
That is absolute genius. Keeps the audience guessing, but hey.
No, it's not. It's like we couldn't come up with an ending, so we're just going to go with a black screen.
It was gold. I loved it.
It was not.
But... Donnie says LA Knight is doing this. Management is against me. Is he cosplaying Stone Cold, or is this foreshadowing?
He's been doing that his entire career.
I mean, that's exactly it, Anthony. This man, LA Knight, has cosplayed just The Rock and Stone Cold his entire career. I mean, he's not done anything original ever, really.
That's a fact
of
life.
He just copies and pastes other people's stuff. And I mean, Donnie says Sopranos is unique.
Ben, I will chime in. It was not a good finish. Come on, man.
Do you know maybe what this is? Maybe it's your generation. Like, I'm not even like joking.
Our generation.
No.
Ageism.
It actually might be.
So when did you
Because
watch
I've
it?
had
You
conversations.
must have watched it later
right?
in life after it was completely done, obviously, right?
Yeah, but I didn't know the ending until it happened. But maybe because it was built up for years because you guys watched it in real time, maybe that was the reason why. But me and my mates will sit at a bar and we'll talk about the best TV show endings of all time. And genuinely, we talk about The Sopranos. Like, honestly, because it keeps you guessing, it keeps you speculating. And there was not really an ending they could have done, which would have been perfect. But that's a side note for another day. But, Chad, I want to get your take on the Last Time Is Now tournament. Oh, apparently StreamYard wants me to give my take again. That's delightful.
It's done that a couple times this week. Here, let me just be completely honest with you. The last bracket of people, I don't know if it would have made anybody truly upset or truly happy. Like, I really think it's either you're really excited for this tournament in general, or you're going to kind of be let down in regards to the remaining names. In my opinion, last night, both matches were fine. They did their job. Jey Uso makes sense to be at this position. The fact that we got to talk about the beginning, right? Cena, Rumble, eliminated by Jey Uso. The potential for him to be his last opponent, and if Cena is to retire a victor, that makes a lot of sense. You also throw the curveball, maybe Jey goes heel. I don't know. That could make a lot of sense towards it. But regardless of what it is, man, Jey is a big-time star at the end of the day, whether people want to, argue it or not. Numbers don't lie in regards to that. He gets a major pop anytime he's in the building, and everything statistically, tells you otherwise when you talk about merch and all of that. But LA Knight, this is the guy who I don't know what it is, man, because I think LA Knight, I hate to say it, I'm starting to feel like the ship has sailed a little bit for him. I feel like they didn't capitalize on something with him when they should have. And at this point, they need to just kind of try to figure out what's going on. Sorry, my cat tried to jump in again. But it's just one of those situations. I don't know where he kind of falls into place. I think him and Cena, like I said, other matches, it would be a phenomenal program just because the level of promo and mic skills that they both have. But we're not going to get a program. We're getting a winner of this match. So at this point, it kind of shows that, to me, it's either Jey for what I said, or it's easily Gunther, which at this point, he's probably the one that makes the most sense and the one I would be most excited for with the choices that we have left. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think we're all on the same page. Gunther seems to be the no-brainer at this point. But up next, I want to talk about the traditional Survivor Series match because it returned last night on SmackDown. It's been gone for a few years. They acted like it's been gone for decades. It hasn't. It's only been a few years, but they acted like it had been gone for a while. And I really enjoyed this match last night. I thought it was a lot of fun. But I did have a couple of issues with it, and pretty much all of that came down to one issue, and that was that I felt it was a little bit too short. Because I felt, firstly, JC Mateo got pinned way too quickly and way too cleanly. He looked like a borderline jobber in there. But then the same thing pretty much a minute later happened to Nakamura as well, where he was pinned successfully and it wasn't even Tama Tonga's finisher. It was all just a little bit rushed, a little bit confusing, but I did enjoy it. It was fun, and ultimately that is the end goal. I did like how they did it with it going down to Sammy versus Solo, but the odds were against Sammy for quite a bit of time. There was a count out to get rid of Tama Tonga. I liked that, and in the end, I'm really happy Sammy did lose, because again, it gets the audience more behind Sammy while actually making Solo Sikoa feel important. So I'm going to be honest, I enjoyed this match. I just wish, one, it was on Survivor Series, and secondly, that it got a bit more time if it was going to be the SmackDown main event. But Shad, what were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I thought this was a fine match. I thought they established a lot of key things in this match. One is the MFTs. I think if you're going to go in the direction of making them feel like a unit, this is a very important win to get over. I know Sammy's team is not, in a sense, they seem very auto-generated, even though the story is kind of there. But regardless, it's a lot of credible names. Obviously, Sammy, Nakamura, Phoenix and the Motor City Machine Guns, and them getting a win over them in that type of format makes a lot of sense. Also, I think the key things are this. One, Solo is remaining on a hot hand right now. Solo is obviously a name I forgot to mention in the tournament, but he's still in the tournament right now. And he's somebody that needs to kind of ride the momentum, and he needs to kind of build this brand to be a little bit different than what we have as like just bloodline adjacent. And I think they're doing a great job with that. I think they feel like the MFT, something that Solo is the brainchild of and kind of created. And I think all of the guys in the faction have been doing a splendid job. And the second thing is Talatonga, formerly known as Hikuleo. I think he looked really good last night. They kept him very strong how he got count out. He got a pinned both Motor City Machine Gun, Saban and Shelley by himself. And that's kind of what you need. If there's something in that faction, the key figureheads, besides, of course, Solo being the head honcho, is Tama Tonga, who looked really good last night as well. Had the hidden blade also. Shout outs to that. And Talatonga. Like, I think those two guys are people that could, at some point, if this faction does break up, I think they can build a bit of a career for themselves as single stars. In regards to the other side, I'm concerned. I'm going to be completely real with you. I don't know what happens to a lot of these guys besides Sami Zayn. I think Sammy's fine, but, you know, Phoenix, we're really, really in a desperate measure that we better hope Penta is not injured for the foreseeable future. Because to me, Phoenix is going to be going down the Dragon Lee tornado of I'm just going to be a glorified jobber and make people look good regardless of what you're going to need. Because he hasn't really popped out since he's come into the WWE as a singles guy. He's definitely lacking a bit of the star power that Penta has. Motor City Machine Guns, to me, they had that, you know, rise from when they started. At this point, they kind of just seem like reliable hands in the tag division. And then Shinsuke, we talk about him nonstop. I don't know what Shinsuke has left really to do on the main roster. He is in the biggest limbo of all limbo. So to me, like, a lot of those guys, I mean, they did what they needed to do. All of them seem like, besides Sammy, just hands and to make you look better. And it's a little concerning because it's a lot of guys who were recently signed and somebody as, you know, notable of a name like Shinsuke.
Yeah, honestly, I'm going to actually disagree with you on Rey Fenix because I agree up until last night. But last night, I do think he had, I don't want to say a breakout performance, but I think that was his best performance he's had in a number of months. So I do reckon if they capitalize on that, then maybe this could be the turning point for him. But if they don't and they carry on doing what they've been doing, then yeah, I agree. I do worry for him without Penta as well. We've got a few comments I want to quickly read out. Fernando saying that he wishes it happened at Survivor Series 2. Donnie saying his issue with the Survivor Series format is many of the matches are mid-card guys, so you don't get main event time. Guys lose in quick order. It's always been that way, and that's why he doesn't like it. Tony says it's a waste of time. But, Anthony, what did you think about the match?
The thing with the Survivor Series, like a traditional elimination match, like you said, it feels like it's been going longer because it kind of got replaced by War Games. The thing with the traditional Survivor Series match in the concept is that it's thrown together teams randomly. And much like the Royal Rumble, feuds can bounce off of there. Maybe you're tagging with a rival that you don't like, or maybe a disagreement takes place during that match, which spins off into its own feud. Like, that's kind of the benefit of the Survivor Series match. But like Donnie said, and it's right, there are quick eliminations, which is the thing. It's not a traditional match where it's like their finishes will happen like that, whether or not somebody hits their signature move or not. Like, that's kind of how it is. I was way more interested in this match than it would have been if it was the Wyatts and the MFTs. We'll get into the Wyatts next. But to me, I was okay with this group because it's a veteran group. They're all solid hands. Like Shad said, Nakamura, I don't know how much he's got left in the tank. He's a good hand. The Motor City Machine Guns, probably one of the greatest tag teams of all time. But when they were brought in WWE, they were brought in to help elevate the tag division, which I think they kind of did. the SmackDown tag division is probably the most solid one in wrestling right now, from the stackness of teams wise. Sammy, I've said before, he's going to win the Rumble. I have him winning the Rumble in Saudi. It's a logical move. Phoenix, I think he kind of got his knees cut out from under him because he was tagging with Andrade. Then that all went, where that went. And now his brother got injured, and they were supposed to tag together at the AAA show coming up in December, I believe. But with him, honestly, if you want to do a singles, I'd put him in there with Dragunov. I'd have him be the one to dethrone Dragunov. If Dragunov is injured, I know there's rumors on that. Not to get into dirt sheet stuff, but if you're looking for somebody to beat him and to help elevate, Phoenix beating Dragunov would be a smart move because Dragunov has been a dominant U.S. champion. And Phoenix is the type you can continue on the open challenge, which I like that concept that they're continuing on with that. And Phoenix can fight from underneath, beat bigger guys. Like you could do stuff with him with that. And I think it'll help him connect Mysterio-esque with the kids and stuff like that. If you really push him in that way, you might be able to pull it off.
I reckon they can. I do love that shout as well. Rey Fenix, next US champion. I would definitely be up for that. But we need to talk about the Wyatt Six, guys. We need to have a serious conversation about the Wyatt Six because I love Bray Wyatt. I love Bo Dallas. I love the idea of the Wyatt Six. I love the presentation of the Wyatt Six. I love everybody in the Wyatt Six, but it is not working. And I think there are two reasons why it is not working. One is the fact that, some of them keep getting injured. And I think it's Bo Dallas a lot is getting injured or is struggling to get cleared, whatever. But the second issue is that even when one of them is injured, they're taking all of them off TV. They don't need to be doing that. They should not be doing that. The fact that it's so stop, start on TV, off TV, it has just ruined them. And I'm going to be honest, I don't care about the Wyatt Six anymore. Why? Because every time something with them starts, it's bound to stop very soon after. And therefore, it breaks my heart. But I think they're pretty much done. And it pains me to say that. It really, really does. But, Anthony, I want to get your take on this.
Okay, this isn't going to be good. I got to be perfectly honest. I've never been into the Wyatts. I've never had any interest in this. I've been open about this. I respect Bray Wyatt, but I was never into the Bray Wyatt thing. I never got over that horrible Hell in a Cell match with Seth. The red on red is still the worst match I've ever seen. But I just don't care. Like I felt like when they brought them in, and I got it. It's a nostalgia type thing. But my concern was, past the nostalgia, does it have legs to go further? And I never thought it did. And I just really, other than an entrance, what are they? Like, realistically, there aren't teams for them to really go up against. MFT's the first time they've really kind of had a team since, what was the Hurt Business or whatever? Back in the, I don't know what you do with these guys. Like, I don't know what you do with them long term. Do I see world champion in any of them? No. They got tag titles. That's about it. I don't see world champion in somebody like Bo. And I like them. I respect them, but I don't see what you get out of them long term. And it's a shame. Like, I get it. People really like it, but it's not my thing. So them not being on TV really didn't matter to me. Wow. And I don't mean that as to be cold, but it's not my thing. So I didn't miss them, if that makes sense.
Fair enough. And to be fair, I agree on the Bo Dallas not being world champion material, but I also don't think he needs to be world champion material for the Wyatts to work. They could just be a fun group in the mid-card, which tells good stories. But the issue is they aren't telling stories because they keep closing the chapter halfway through and moving on to the next.
I mean, the thing is, with a group like that, with a large group, they're typically built around one particular person to try to elevate that person to a world title. We saw it with DX, saw it NWO, Evolution, Undisputed Era. It's always that focus of that one guy. So that's what I mean when I say world title, because typically that's what those staples do. Typically, the Ministry of Darkness, it was about the Undertaker on the world title. Like, it was always about that one person. There's no true. Joe Gacy might be the one out of that group that I think has the most untapped potential. But I think between the NXT run and that stable and this stable, I don't know if he lasts if this thing flops. Like, he might be on the next GCW show. Like, I don't think they would keep him, and that's a shame because I think he's got a lot of talent. But I don't know what you do. When you're exposed and you've had a number of different angles in wrestling, there's a point where the audience just goes, I'm done with you. Like, they're not willing to give you another chance in front of the audience. I think that was the problem with Austin Theory in a lot of ways. He got pushed into a lot of different scenarios and they didn't really work. And it's kind of like it's tarnished. So you almost got.
I think they get behind him again now.
No,
but
I'm saying, like, there are certain talents that to just get to that point where, like, the audience isn't interested, then you got to go somewhere else, reinvent yourself, and then maybe you can come back and do more. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of one of those things.
Well, Donnie agrees with you with Joe Gacy, but Shad, I want to get your thoughts on this.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard to. It's a tough one because I do think that there was a lot of excitement, obviously, going into it. We got to see what potentially was the idea and brainchild of what the late great Bray Wyatt had, and to see his brother get the opportunity and play the character not as Bray Wyatt, but the whole Uncle Howdy character that was tied to the last bit before we lost him, and talk about this whole faction. The Wyatt Six, we knew about the idea of it with the numbers game and it coming into live. I feel like there was so much potential, but the potential was never met. And I don't know if expectations were super high, but to be honest with you, they haven't even done anything to meet the minimum at this point. The major aspect of it is that they had some cool video vignettes. They had the whole aspect of the lights coming out in the entrance. But besides that, there isn't a whole lot to it. Now we're at a place in time where they're just a unit and they're a team, but there hasn't been a said storyline. For this, I think this is an opportunity to try to course correct and at least get them a little bit back on track. I feel a faction versus faction feud makes a lot of sense, them and the MFTs. I think the whole idea of them kind of going for people that have done your brother dirty and it being my family tree, it being Solo doing his two brothers dirty, there's a great story to be told there. And I really hope they do the due diligence to tell a story and kind of go a little bit more into the weeds. I do feel bad for the talent at hand because I think it's several talented people in there. I think Joe Gacy, I covered him a lot on NXT's review shows. I think he's phenomenal. He has a little bit of Dean Ambrose to his character, esque, obviously being as close as he is with Moxley. But Nikki Cross is someone where I feel like they've given her any idea and she's knocked it out the park the best as she can. Whether it be like the whole feeling lost and awkward in the back and just staring at people. We're talking about sanity, even talking about Nikki almost as a superhero. Like, they give her an opportunity. She's talented to do it. And with her character kind of playing the Sister Abigail, if you want to call it that or whatever it may be, into this, it could have definitely been something big. I'm curious to see. Maybe it's the fact that they didn't have an original, but maybe besides Rowan, someone with ties to Bray, maybe they should have had Alexa in it, or maybe they should have kept Braun Strowman and have him in it. That could have had some familiarity to it. But besides that, I don't know. They feel very directionless. And I don't know if it's one of those avenues where you're trying to create your own entity, but still tell the nostalgia act of what you have in it. And it just kind of got lost in the tracks. But I don't know, man. It's definitely not looking good. And at this point, I don't think they should beat the MFTs. I think the MFTs they got more heat to them. They do what they're needed to as a team a lot more. I know people want to give Solo a lot of slack. I think Solo Sikoa is one of the most underrated superstars in the WWE. I think when he gets an opportunity, he delivers and does his job to a T. And I would rather reward him and make his team look a lot more dominant than give it to a kind of a, off and on team. So.
Well, that's a big call on Solo, and I'm going to be honest, I do personally agree that he is very underrated, but that does bring us, guys, to the end of today's show. Survivor Series just 3 hours away now, and tomorrow we will be back for the Survivor Series review show. It's going to be bucket loads of fun. But thank you to Shad, thank you to Anthony, and thank you to all of you for watching at home. Please like, subscribe, and comment if you did enjoy, and we will see you guys same time, same place tomorrow. Ba 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 ba.